Who are you? What do you do? What makes you unique? These are questions that we answer many times in our lives. As time passes, even though we refine our answers, the truth is most of the times we don't give the full answer. Not because we don't want to, or because we aren't true to ourselves. It's because the answer is expected in a certain format, or in a short preordained description. We live in a society where sometimes we have to answer that important question with what we know as a title. But you and I know that you are a million times more multidimensional and real than just a title. Now you're probably saying, isn't that what resumes are for? Unfortunately, most resumes are sorted, filtered, or judged by, you guessed it, a title. It's the gatekeeper, so to speak. And let's be honest, we've all had that feeling for quite some time that the resume is not what it used to be. It doesn't produce anymore. We spend hours on a document that hiring managers scan in seconds. So let's briefly take a look at its history.
The resume, believe it or not, dates back to 1485. You see, in 1485, Leonardo da Vinci is the first to write a resume as we know it today. A few years later, in 1500, a traveling lord in England does write on a similar format, names it what we translate today as a resume. By the 1950s, resume becomes the acceptable and expected method to showcase your experience and skills, and this is when it basically took off. In the 1980s, with digital computers, we see another climb in resumes, because people began to use word processors. By the mid-1990s, with the creation of the internet, career sites like Monster and Career Builder are founded and begin to store digital resumes throughout databases. And now, as you know, we have profile sites like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook.
The traditional resume has been good to us, but now it's time to retire it. So that leaves us with the burning question, what do we use as an alternative? Well, let's keep in mind that the resume is not going anywhere anytime soon. Instead, it is going through an evolving process as we speak. For example, LinkedIn and similar sites are an improvement to the traditional resume, but basically, it's still a resume. They call this profiling. But if you really want to stand out and make yourself unforgettable to the hiring managers, you want to use something that businesses and corporations have been using for many, many years, and it continues to work for them effectively. The power of branding. And this is why more and more savvy job seekers are incorporating self-branding to their profile. Career experts agree that now, more than ever, is the time to brand yourself. Showcase what you have done and promote yourself like never before. And better yet, all this in half the effort. Unfortunately, some are still not clear how to brand themselves. They assume that adding their Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn account into one bucket will give the employer what they need. But that's not necessarily true. For example, an employer can't do much when they search your name and your social media shows that you had those wings at your favorite restaurant, or now that you're following Ashton Kutcher. Additionally, an employer does not get much data when he sees that you have 500 plus connections and endorsements from friends. You see, they still have to sift through useful content. Sometimes they have to go through content that you prefer they just not focus on. While this online presence might be a step in the right direction, it could also be a misaligned step, leaving both candidates and employers frustrated. Now you may ask, is branding yourself really necessary today? Well, let's explain the importance. Perhaps you've earned a degree, a bachelor's or master's, and needless to say, you have spent a great deal of time and money on your education. Now, this sacrifice is done because we expect a great return or reward on our investment, like a high-paying job, promotions, bonuses, recognition, managerial responsibilities. But what stands between A and Z is a major bottleneck called a 2-page resume. This is wrong. Now look at what companies do. They also make initial sacrifices like you and I, but they also invest in branding, campaigning, marketing, with bloated budgets to get expected returns, namely high profits and a large customer base. This is our model. This is their model. Now notice how we've been light years behind all this time? Don't hesitate any longer. Contact us and we'll sit down with you. We'll guide you step by step and explain the process for you to create a personal brand like never before. Legacy Resumes.